Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. I do appreciate it. Here I am walking down the street in Cebu City, Philippines, and I want to bring you this video. It is a Villages news video. This is an update video to a video I did a few days ago about the amenity fees and about the AAC, that's the Amenity Authority Committee, who met on Tuesday. I wanted to give you an update of what the meeting was and what they discussed. Let's take a walk, friends, and talk about the numbers. The news article was in the villages-news.com. And the title of the article is, Official Contends Villagers Deserve Relief on Amenity Fees. I will read you the article and then I will present you with some numbers, some budgeted numbers and projected numbers to give you an idea of what the amenity fees in the northern part of the villages are. And these numbers will be for the amenity fees collected for those residents north of County Road 466 in the Villages, Florida. The AAC is the Amenity Authority Committee. They're in charge of the RAD Fund, Recreation Amenities Division Fund, that holds the funding for the amenities north of County Road 466. The article in the villages-news.com goes like this. Residents jam-packed a more than 3-hour meeting on Tuesday in which the Amenity Authority Committee debated the possibility of restoring a cap on amenity fees. The crowd was large enough that the Recreation Department had to leap into action and take down the walls to enlarge the Ashley Wilkes conference room to accommodate the many residents attending the highly anticipated meeting in which the AAC was set to delve into the red-hot topic of amenity rates. Legal counsel Kevin Stone opened with a lengthy presentation on the history of amenity rates. He concluded that in his opinion, that the AAC, which oversees amenities north of County Road 466, cannot reinstate a cap, also known as the deferral rate, unless the project-wide advisory committee, which oversees amenities in the south of County Road 466, agrees to bring back the cap too. So here you have a legal counsel indicating that the AAC, which is a separate, unique governmental board overseeing a separate and unique governmental fund known as the RAD Fund, he's saying that they don't have authority to make a decision unless the project-wide advisory committee also agrees to reinstate the cap on the residents in the southern part of the villages, south of 466. To me, that already seems a little odd. If that is the case, why have two separate amenity funding sources? Why have two separate committees if they're going to be synonymous with one or the other? It just seems to me that they need to reorganize how they have their government set up in the villages. And the article continues. However, Don Deacon, the longest serving member of the AAC board, said he respectfully disagrees with Attorney Stone's opinion. Deacon said he believes the AAC has the authority to reinstate the cap and is not required to be in lockstep with the PWAC. Both the AAC and PWAC agreed to get rid of the cap in the year 2019, and I did bring that video to you a few days ago explaining that. Deacon said he wants to go on record stating that his firm opinion is that the AAC can reinstate the cap or the deferral rate if they want. The financial outlook is much different between the AAC and the project-wide advisory committee. Their financial situations are much different, according to Deacon. The PWAC has a heavy load of debt and just took on the responsibility to purchase additional amenities in Community Development District number 12 and number 13. And I did bring you that video a few days ago explaining the amenity sale for approximately $258 million to the project-wide advisory committee and the SLAD fund, the SLAD fund. Deacon continued, he said, the AAC's fund balance is rising by $11 million per year thanks to increasing amenity rates due to hikes in line with the consumer price index. People are worried about spending $20 million to rebuild the Paradise Recreation Center that is located on the historic side of the Villages. And they are going to rebuild, reconstruct a whole new building over there. It's going to be gorgeous, by the way. He questioned the wisdom of building up a huge bank balance at the expense of residents. Hopefully we will find a way to get our residents some relief, Deacon said. The AAC could not take a vote in the workshop session that was held on Tuesday, but they could take a vote in the upcoming meeting. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. It seems like the Villages and the district want their cake and eat it too. They want to separate these amenities between north and south, but then when one governing body wants to do something different than the other, they say they can't do it, that they must be doing it the same way. I think that defeats the whole purpose of setting up the governmental entities that they have. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I also wanted to give you some budgeted projections and budget numbers because Don Deacon did mention that the AAC and the RAD fund has a healthy fund balance. I went to the financial statements that are published on the districtgov.org website, and I wanted to verify what he was saying. And here are the numbers. The RAD fund for the 24-25 fiscal year final budget is going to be $92.1 million, which is up from $78.2 million. That 24-25 proposed budget is going to be using $24.4 million in working capital. They're going to draw down the working capital by $24.4 million. $11 million of that $24.4 is a transfer to the R&R fund, and $20 million is going to be used to renovate or actually construct a new Paradise Recreation Center. I also looked at the 24-25 proposed budget. Amenity revenue is going up from $48.8 million to $50.3 million. That's a 3% increase, and that is based on the rising amenity fee and the fact that there is no deferral rate or no cap. Those are your 24-25 budgeted numbers. I also wanted to cover the fiscal year 23-24 budget that just ended in September of 2024. The projected amounts, because they didn't have the actual amounts at the time, the projected amounts at the end of September of 2024 for the RAD fund, they project that the working capital balance will be $16.9 million. That is down from $41.3 million. And a big chunk of the working capital is to be used, $20 million is to be used for the Paradise Recreation Center. The general R&R reserve, that's general repair and replacement reserve, those are funds that the board will pass a resolution on, and they will transfer funds from working capital to a general reserve and replacement. And those funds are earmarked only for projects that are used for capital expenditures, large scale projects. That's why they have different fund balances within some of these governmental entities, is because the board of directors will essentially allocate funds for specific reasons. So the general R&R fund is one of those funds that's allocated for capital expenditures. They forecast that at the end of September of 2024, the general R&R will have a balance of $19.6 million. That is down from $20.5 million. They did have capital expenditures of $11.8 million, but they also had a transfer in from working capital of $11 million. The settlement reserve, $6.4 million, that remained the same from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. The other numbers I want to discuss are the forecast, the 5-year projections, and the forecast of the fund balance for the end of the fiscal year 28-29. And the budget department typically will do a 5-year forecast to see what the fund balances will be 5 years from now. The fiscal year 28-29 forecast for the RAD fund, working capital will be $17.3 million, down from $24.3 million. The general R&R reserve fund will be $16.7 million, down from $17.7 million. And the settlement reserves will be the same at $6.4 million. So when you add those three reserves up in the fiscal year 28-29 forecasted budget, you're coming up with about $48 million in reserve. Now, I know the budget department at the Community Development District, they have a minimum amount that they require that these funds have on reserve. And that minimum amount is $8.5 million. The budget department says that you should have 3 months worth of expenditures in reserve at all time. And 3 months of expenditures, if you use the fiscal year 23-24 expenditures, would be $8.5 million. So if you have $48 million in reserve, and the budget department is recommending that you have at least 3 months expenditures of $8.5 million, that leads me to believe that they could cap amenity rates without financial concerns. Let me know what you think in the comments below. There's a couple of issues. One is, why does the AAC have to rely on the project-wide advisory committee for approval to cap the amenity rates or to implement a deferral rate. I thought the whole purpose of having separate legal boards and governmental entities is so they could control their own budgets. And number two, what is the proper amount of reserves these governmental funds need? I know historically the villages likes to build up large balances, and they don't like to hold rates steady. They're very conservative. They like to have a lot of funds in the balance for unforeseen expenses. And I did bring you some videos recently about unforeseen expenses, including, for example, $3 million spend at Lake Sumter on the boardwalk, probably another $1 or $2 million at Lake Sumter for erosion control. That's at the Lakeshore Cottages. So there could be a lot of unforeseen expenses that the budget department does not have in their 5-year projections. And that is one of the reasons why the villages likes to maintain these large fund balances, because there could be some large expenditures that are unforeseen. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I wanted to bring you this update of the AAC committee meeting that was held on Tuesday. And essentially they have an attorney. I'm sure that attorney is being persuaded by the villages or by the district to say what he's saying, in that they cannot put a deferral rate on the amenity fees unless they get agreement from the project-wide advisory committee. I understand why they want to do that. They don't want to have residents north of 466 have different amenity rates than residents south of 466. They want uniformity in amenity rates, which I understand. But then the question I have is, why did they set their form of government up to have two different governing boards and two different funding sources, governmental funds? They should just combine them and have one board governing all of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I do appreciate it. That is your Villages update for today. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. I do appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone.